This is a sports catastrophe production. Hey there, hello there. It's Jeff Critter Dummy welcoming you to another sports catastrophe on this day. And on this day, a very somber anniversary because it is 20 years ago today that the world of NASCAR was in such disarray. I know that the picture looks terrible and all that, but the picture could be worse. So basically, yeah. So the 2001 Daytona 500 took place and all that. And NASCAR said that they had to have a use of a restrictor plate for races held at this track, as well as Talladega, because of the super speeds they could go, and said that speed could be terrible and all that. However, in 2000, NASCAR instituted additional restrictions to the springs and shocks used in the cars, causing Earnhardt to complain, saying, "The rules took NASCAR racing and made it some serious racing. They took racing out of the hands of the drivers and the crews. We can't adjust and make our cars drive like we want. They killed the racing in Daytona. This is a joke to have to race like this." But the criticism worked because NASCAR developed a new aerodynamic package for the cars competing in races in Daytona and Talladega. And Earnhardt, using the aerodynamic package, actually won the 2000 Talladega race, which would be his 76th and final win. So basically, this package would keep cars bunched up close together and allow more frequent passing at high speed, basically making it much easier. Earnhardt didn't want to attend the fan event before the Daytona 500. But basically, yeah, the speed weeks and all that stuff. So anyway, Earnhardt even participated in the 24-hour Rolex endurance race at Daytona. And they finished 4th place, which isn't bad. Dale Earnhardt at the Daytona 500 was a stuff of shocks, especially in 1990 when he had the lead on the final lap, but he ran over some debris and basically crashed, leaving Derek Cope, of all people, winning the Daytona 500 that year. Earnhardt came close several times, losing twice to Dale Jarrett and all that. But in 1998, Earnhardt finally got his golden ticket, winning the Daytona 500 just weeks after John Elway won the Super Bowl. Basically, another long drought would end. And Earnhardt went under caution, thankfully enough. So Earnhardt was a fan favorite with his number 3 car and all that. The race happened. Earnhardt looked relaxed. He was a front runner. He even led 17 laps. There were only 2 caution flags in the first 3 quarters of the race. And there were like minor accidents. However, there was a gigantic crash. It involved Tony Stewart. They call it the big one. On lap 173, Earnhardt was in 3rd place with Michael Waltrip and Dale Earnhardt Jr. running 1st and 2nd in front of him. However, the crash on the back straightaway eliminated 18 cars. The crash began when Robbie Gordon turned into Ward Burton by turn 2. Stewart got hit by Ward, turned backwards against the outside wall, and then was pushed everyone over Gordon. He flipped over twice, hooking to Bobby Laponte's hood, and stood on his front wheels before coasting to a stop in the infield. And it was red flagged because they needed to clean up the mess. Between the time of the crash and the restart, Earnhardt conversed with his pit crew over the radio. The owner of Earnhardt's car, Richard Childress, said that he recalled Dale saying, "Richard, if they don't do something to these cars, it's going to kill somebody." And then Earnhardt would have his last conversation with his crew, telling his crew member, "Do you have any advice for me coming up?" "No, man, I haven't got any advice for you. Just keep doing what you're doing." "Okay, just wondering. Cheers. Talk to you later." So anyway, Waltrip and Earnhardt Jr. were in front. Sterling Martin was up there too. But anyway, it was a fight between Waltrip and Earnhardt Jr. for first and second, whereas Earnhardt was trying to hold third. Dale Sr. was trying to hold third place for his two teammates. Unfortunately, he made contact with Sterling Martin and Kenny Schrader. No, sorry. Earnhardt made contact with Sterling Martin and skidded off course. When he tried to regain control, he crossed in front of Schrader and collided with Schrader's car. Earnhardt collided head-on into the retaining wall at a critical angle, damaging the car at a speed that was estimated to be between 150 and 160 miles per hour, enough to break the right wheel assembly off the car. Upon impact, his hood pin severed. And all that. No other drivers hit Earnhardt or Schrader, as they both crashed into the infield. Schrader had minor injuries and checked on Earnhardt. His window net was still up, and Schrader pulled it down himself to signal for paramedics and all that. Schrader told about his feelings, saying that we've got bigger problems. Look, I'm not a doctor. I'm telling you, it don't look good. So anyway, at a critical angle, it happened. And Darrell Waltrip was proud in the Fox broadcasting booth that his son Mikey won the race, as Earnhardt Jr. decided to let Waltrip win. So Michael Waltrip won the Daytona 500, and everyone was happy about that. But Darrell's concern was imminent in the box. He says, Dale's okay, isn't he? Usually is. Waltrip won, Earnhardt took second. Rusty Wallace ended up third. Earnhardt Jr. rushed to his father's location. As per NASCAR rules, any driver involved in a crash and unable to drive back to the pits or has to be extricated from the car must report to the infield hospital. However, in severe cases, they have to be taken to a trauma center. Earnhardt was extricated and was taken to Halifax Medical Center. Sadly, though, he passed away at 5:16 Eastern Time. He was only 49 years old. The official cause of Earnhardt's death was given by the examiner's office. Blood forced trauma to his head because of the incident. All that. 2 hours after the accident, NASCAR President Mike Helton announced Earnhardt's death. Investigation revealed that Earnhardt's car struck the concrete retaining wall at a heading angle of 55 to 59 degrees, with a trajectory of 13.6 degrees, which basically has a giant G-forces that exerted to a vertical jump of a height of 18 meters or 61 feet. It was terrible. The media took a lot of time to process this. They called it Black Sunday and all that. Earnhardt's funeral was held February 22nd, 4 days later, in Charlotte at the Calvary Church. His death led to a police investigation and NASCAR investigation. In a reversal of NASCAR policy, nearly every detail of the investigation was made public. Well, I mean, he was a public figure. So basically, Sterling Martin would get death threats because they think he caused the crash. But Dale Jr. absolved Martin of responsibility and said that basically stop assigning blame for his death, all that. And Sterling would make a statement saying, quote, I definitely didn't do anything intentional. We were racing our guts out for the last lap of the Daytona 500. Everyone was going for it. Dale's car got caught in the middle. I was as low as I could go. Whether Rusty Wallace got him loose and down into me, I don't know. You have to talk to Rusty. I watched it take one time, and that's all I want to say of it. And even the guy whose company made the seatbelt Earnhardt were during the race got death threats. Dale Waltrip stated that NASCAR is an emotional sport and that all their fans love their drivers. So when something like this happens, the connection to these racers makes you want to blame somebody, and that somebody had to be involved. And unfortunately, the blame was placed in the wrong place here. Brad Keselowski compared it to the death of Ayrton Senna. Keselowski was 10 years old when Senna died in 1994. said, for me personally, Senna's death reminded me a lot of when Dale died, in the sense of the kind of general mood and atmosphere within my family's household. My dad and brother used to wake up early and watch Formula One, and my dad was a Senna fan. And ironically enough, Earnhardt won the Winston Cup race at Talladega the same day as the San Marino Grand Prix and paid tribute to Senna victory reign. Basically, yeah, so basically, they didn't know what to do with the number and all that. So, yeah. It didn't take a while till 2013 for the number 3 to be used by a driver ever again. Austin Dillon was the guy who got it, but he was Childress's grandson. Kevin Harvick was the guy who replaced Earnhardt after his death. It's amazing. Another emotional moment. Well, Harvick won the race in Atlanta, and he waved the 3 fingers that everyone did with the salutes and all that. But Dale Jr. won the Pepsi 400 at the first NASCAR race at Daytona after Earnhardt's death. It was emotional and all that. Earnhardt Jr. would finish 8th in the point standings. Harvick would win Rookie of the Year. My God. I chose Harvick in 2007. I'm like, 2007, I'll take the winner of the 2007 Daytona 500, and it was Harvick. So I've been a Harvick fan ever since. It was amazing and all that. Fans honored Earnhardt by lofting 3 fingers aloft on the 3rd lap of every NASCAR race in the 2001 season after Daytona. And NASCAR's TV partners went silent for the 3rd lap. All that. Earnhardt was credited with finishing 57th in the point standings. And he did win the most popular driver award. Bill Elliott bowed out of the running and said that Earnhardt should get that. There was a lot of controversy. At a news conference 5 days after the crash, they said, NASCAR officials said the lap belt on Earnhardt's seat belt harness had broken. Dr. Steve Bohannon, the medical expert, said that the faulty belts had allowed Earnhardt's chin to strike the straight steering wheel, which led to a skull fracture, which was fatal. If the seatbelt had not been broken, possibly he might have survived. There's a lot of problems with the seatbelts and all that. And the harnesses and all that. I could basically tell you that NASCAR changed the rules with the harnesses and all that. A lot of people actually said that Earnhardt didn't like wearing those harnesses and all that. But unfortunately, that's what happened and all that. NASCAR's investigation came up, and on August 21st, they published it and said that Earnhardt's death was a combination of factors, which included the collision with Schrader's car, the speed and the impact angle, and the separation of the seatbelts being contributing factors. It was noted that investigators couldn't determine whether a Hans device or head and neck support device would have saved Earnhardt's life, and that airline-style black boxes would be mandated for all vehicles to better understand the forces at work. Bill Simpson left his seatbelt company, said the stress was too much. And all of that. All that. There were a lot of safety improvements, all of that. In response to the speculation about the broken lap belt in Earnhardt's car, many teams migrated from 5 to 6 point safety harnesses. NASCAR didn't make changes with the Hans device and all that. 2 days before that report was released in August, 41 out of 43 drivers wore the Hans devices. So, yeah. So, anyway. So yeah, they did a lot of things. And they actually made the car of tomorrow, which could be used for sprint cups and all that. Basically, the research of the car of tomorrow was because of Earnhardt's death and all that. There were some autopsy pictures, but unfortunately there was a lot of issues with that and all that. So yeah, a lot of NASCAR fatal accidents and all that. There was a documentary called Blink of an Eye to do with this Dale Earnhardt thing that basically came out. It's a good watch, all that. It's such a sad moment and all that. I mean, NASCAR took a massive hit, but the band plays on and all that. Dale Earnhardt will never be forgotten in history. Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond. Thank you for watching.